Breaking news now, the NTSB holding a news conference on that Alaska Airlines emergency that we've been following all weekend.
And this is a live look from Portland where officials are speaking right now. Let's listen.
We tweeted out the diagram of the door plug and components courtesy of Boeing because we wanted to show the door plug, the structure of the airframe and the components to help everyone understand what the structure looks like. There are two hinges on the bottom. These hinges are really designed to open the plug for inspection. It opens about 15 degrees. There are also 12 what they call stop fittings, 6 on each side, and just to describe it in a little bit more understandable way, it's essentially a circle that is on the door plug and a matching circle that's on the frame. And these line up, and the purpose of a stop fitting is to prevent that door plug from being pushed out of the airframe. So that is what's holding the door in place. So the structures team spent the entire day documenting damage, deformation, and witness marks on the left plug surround structure, that's the frame, in situ, as it stands right now. They took photos, they looked at witness marks, they looked for paint transfer, and they identified the components that they want to send back to our lab for further evaluation. And it's really all the fittings and some additional components that they want to send back to the lab and look under the microscope to take a closer look. They'll look for fractures, they'll look at more paint marks, some other, if anything was sheared or there was any deformation, they may be able to see it better under the microscope. Tomorrow they will take a look at the intact plug on the right side of the airplane. They will take the panels off and take a look at that. Now our systems group began looking at all the aircraft systems. They documented the entire flight deck, and they asked about the auto pressurization fail light that did illuminate in 3 previous flights. One on December 7th, one on January 3rd, and one on January 4th. In these 3 previous flights, after the light illuminated, they flipped the switch to alt mode, which is normal. There's a backup. It was very benign. Nothing occurred, very benign. The light illuminated. They flipped it, they reported it, it was tested by maintenance, and then reset. I'm sure I will be asked if there is any correlation between the light that illuminated and the expulsion of the door plug. We don't know that there was any correlation of the two. It could be entirely separate. We do know that there was a decision by Alaska Airlines to a restriction, actually, they put in place. They call it an ETOPS restriction that prevented that plane from being flown to Hawaii over water, so that it could, if some light did illuminate, it could return very quickly to an airport. Again, it's very much described as benign, but we did order, one thing I should mention is they did order additional maintenance look at that light that was not completed before the time of this event. We plan to look at that more, and we've requested documentation on all defects since delivery of the aircraft on October 31st. Our survival factors group carefully documented damage to the interior of the aircraft. That was from the impact of the explosive decompression. There was a lot of damage to paneling, to trim, to the windows, meaning the internal portion of the window. That's the plexiglass, the plastic portion, but the seal in the windows were still intact. Some of the insulation was pulled out in some areas. Those are all not critical to the structure of the aircraft. So I just want to emphasize that, but they did document damage to the interior of the aircraft in the following rows. Rows 33, 32, 31, 27, 26, 25, 12, 11, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Again, on 26 and 25, you had damage to the seats as well. The 26A was torqued, so was 25A. The headrests on 25A and 26A were gone. The seat back on 26A is also missing. The tray table on the back of 26A is also missing. So they pulled those seats out. We would like to take a closer look at those. We are also looking at the functionality of one of the oxygen panels. We found that the pin is down. We want to see the way it's configured right now. The oxygen masks are up in the panel, so that tells us a couple of things. Either they didn't drop, or they did, and what often happens is as passengers are deplaning, they will put the oxygen masks out of the way and back up into the panel. So we're going to contact the passengers in that row and ask what occurred there. So the survival factors team also looked at the exterior of the aircraft and verified that there is no structural damage to the aircraft. Again, I want to repeat, no structural damage to the aircraft. That damage on the inside, that's just interior paneling, trim. It has nothing to do with the structure of the aircraft and airframe itself. That is not damaged. I will also mention that I was asked about passengers, whether passengers were moved from 26A and B. They were not moved from 26A and B. There was no one in those seats. There were empty seats. Again, we have 178 seats on this plane. 171 had passengers in them. On the plane were 3 babies held in the laps of caregivers. I do want to mention safety involving infants in your lap. The NTSB has long recommended, and the Federal Aviation Administration has long recommended, and Alaska Airlines on their website also recommends for caregivers or those accompanying infants under the age of 2 to purchase a seat for that infant and to put them in their own car seat, their car carrier, and to strap them in to ensure safety. If you think about it, what is being told to passengers by the flight attendants during a safety briefing? Please secure all your loose items, put bags under the seats during takeoff, during landing. That's for safety, so things don't move around. The folks we should be most focused on, other than those around the cabin, are our most precious children. And so we would urge passengers to put their children under two in their own seat in a FAA-approved car seat so that they are secure and that they are safe in case something like this happens. It's also key in turbulent events to ensure that they are safe and prevent any sort of injury. So I just want to highlight that. I also want to mention there were 4 unaccompanied minors on this flight. You may, as a minor, travel unaccompanied between the ages of 5 and 17. So there were 4 unaccompanied minors, and the flight attendants were very concerned for their safety, very focused on whether they had their masks and that their masks were secured. So after this explosive event occurred suddenly, the flight attendants were very focused on what was going on with those children. Were they safe? Were they secure? Did they have their seatbelts or their lap belts on? And did they have their masks on? And they did. But I really want to thank the actions of the flight attendants. I mean, the flight attendants are there for our safety and during emergency, and their actions were really heroic. And so I really want to thank them for that. We were able to interview the 2 flight attendants in the forward portion of the aircraft. Tomorrow, we will interview the 2 in the aft portion of the aircraft. But, you know, as I move into operations and what was going on the flight deck, I'm going to talk about the cockpit door that had opened when this explosive decompression had occurred. The cockpit door flew open immediately, and at this point, the flight attendant in the forward portion of the aircraft was standing, and the cockpit door flew open, hit the laboratory door. That door, the laboratory door, got stuck. She was very concerned that was somebody in there. There was no one in there, but that was stuck. And she did attempt to shut the door 3 times. It did eventually shut, but it did blow open during the explosive decompression. So let's talk about what was going on in the flight deck. At the time, we did interview the flight crew. And so from the interviews with them and the flight attendants, we were able to piece some things together that I want to mention. They heard a bang. They hear a bang. They immediately put on their oxygen masks. At the time there is a bang, the door flies open. There is a quick reference checklist that's laminated in front of them. This is not the quick reference handbook. That is to the right side of the captain, but the checklist, the laminated checklist, flies out the door. The captain takes the quick reference handbook, hands it over to the first officer. They start going through their memory items. When this explosive decompression occurred and the door flew open, the flight attendant reports that she saw the first officer jolt forward. The first officer lost her headset at that moment. It was pulled off. The captain had a portion of the headset pulled off, but they put their masks on, turned on the speaker so they could communicate with folks back in the cabin. Communication was a serious issue. The flight attendants reported that they were not that it was difficult to get information from the flight deck, and the flight deck was having trouble also communicating. And I'm going to get back to that in just a second. But I do want to emphasize that the actions of the flight crew were really incredible. I imagine, and just from talking with everyone who was part of the interviews, it was described as chaos, very loud between the air and everything going on around them, and it was very violent when the rapid decompression and the door was expelled out of the plane. So there was a lot going on, and I just really want to, we want to thank the actions of the flight crew. That was equally heroic. Just the flight crew entirely did an excellent job. Thank you for that. Along with, well, I'll get back to that in a minute. I think I'm going to talk a little bit about the search for the door plug. First and foremost, I want to thank the community. Every single time the NTSB asks the community to come together, provide photos, provide video, look for something, report back in, it happens. The community came together and just went all out to try to look for this door plug. Now, just describing the door plug for everyone, which we have not found yet. It is yellowish green on one side and kind of can blend in and with vegetation, and it's white on the other side. It is 26 by 48 inches and weighs 63 pounds. So it's pretty large. Some community members found a cell phone in a yard and a cell phone on the side of the road and contacted us and handed that in. I would love for those two community members to email witness@ntsb.gov so that I can properly thank them. I would very much like to do that on behalf of the entire NTSB. We've also asked businesses in this location to look at their roofs to see if something is stuck on a roof. And then we are asking homeowners and businesses, if you have Ring, if you have security cameras. I initially said 5:17 p.m. We went back and looked. I want to correct that. It's 5:11 p.m. Look at your Ring, look at your security cameras around 5:11 p.m. and see if you see anything. If you see something, please report it to us, witness@ntsb.gov, or please call local authorities. Now, this morning we sent back the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder to our labs. Those arrived later this afternoon. We are using part of the data in the flight data recorder to narrow the area that we want to search for the door plug. The cockpit voice recorder was completely overwritten. There is nothing on the cockpit voice recorder. Now, the Emergency Operations Center at this point was being established pretty rapidly by Alaska. There was a lot going on the flight deck and on the plane. It's a very chaotic event. The circuit breaker for the CVR was not pulled. The maintenance team went out to get it, but it was right at about the 2-hour mark, and it was completely overwritten. At 2 hours, it re-records over it, so we have nothing from the CVR. I want to focus on that for a second. Since 2018, we've done 10 investigations where the CVR was overwritten. 4 of those were recent runway incursions. We have this event, and back in 2018, there was a very significant near miss with an Air Canada plane that almost landed on a taxiway at San Francisco International Airport. On that taxiway were 4 airplanes with a combined total of about 1,000 people. The Air Canada plane came within 60 feet of coming right down on one of those airplanes. that had passengers on it before it began to perform a go-around. The CVR was completely overwritten. The NTSB has many times talked about the need to increase the time on CVRs from 2 hours to 25 hours, which is consistent with Europe and many other countries. Now, the FAA, thankfully, has taken some recent action to issue a notice of proposed rulemaking to extend CVR time from 2 hours to 25 hours, but only on newly manufactured aircraft. So it would not affect this aircraft. It can be, you can easily install a different cockpit voice recorder and increase the time from 2 hours to 25 hours.
We've been listening to a press conference by NTSB regarding that Alaska Airlines flight on Friday, that Boeing 737 MAX 9 on its way from Portland, Oregon to California, where the exit door window blew out. And from what we have gathered, this has been quite a bit of information, but I guess the most important to gather from there is that they have taken photos. They're going to look at witness marks and a lot of other information that will be sent to their lab for further observation before they can definitely say what happened to that plane and why that door was blown off.
And one other highlight there, Pat, the 3 previous flights on this particular plane, the auto pressure fail light, they're trying to see if that had anything to do with those door plugs and with the door flying off. Of course, once again, further investigation and more reviews still needed to complete this investigation into what happened here on this flight.